A playlist original.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your host Gaius and Jackson. A news episode, finally again,
Yeah,
and
it's
a
been a
lot,
minute.
yeah, and a lot of news to cover. Jackson is now on the mend. He was pretty sick the last few
Yes.
days, and could could not muster the energy to like even get up to go and sit down and talk. And I understand that because when I'm sick, I just want to stay in my bed and not get out of it. Like the
Yeah, I don't
journey from
know
like the journey from the
what it
bed to like
was.
anywhere in the room is just like ugh, too much
Basically,
effort.
living in my bed on my days off. I don't know if it was the flu or a bad case of food poisoning that turned into something else. But anyway, of course, it happens on my days off on the weekend. Missed St. Patrick's Day. So happy belated St. Patrick's Day to those of you guys that celebrate that. I was sleeping for like 17 hours that day, but it was all worth it. I am back and feeling better. You'd never even know that I was sick, but yes,
Yeah,
glad to be back
you
in
wouldn't
front of
know
the
it at
camera.
all, like at all. Like I think because on the Back to the Blockbuster page, your girlfriend follows it, so like her stories like pop up on there. And
Yes.
there was one that she posted, and it was a small like even snippet of you. I guess sitting on the couch, and like even that small like image of you looks like miserable. Like you're just like,
Oh, I was like in the fetal position, like under a
yeah,
blanket,
yeah,
had the
yeah,
chills really bad. So, recently on the note of her, so I have finally gotten to show her Game of Thrones. We've watched lots of great television together,
yeah,
and since we've begun dating, I've told her I've had the whole series of Game of Thrones, just waiting to break it out of the plastic and rewatch it again because I haven't seen it since it wrapped up in 2019. And since then, I've got my roommate to watch it, my former roommate, and my parents both watched it, and they all loved it. And Cam, one of my best buds, who I'm frequently talking about here on the show, he just rewatched it last year, and that really ignited the itch. And Caden and I haven't had a series to watch in a minute. So I thought, why not? We just moved into a new place together. It's our
yeah.
inaugural show in this place. So we just finished up season one and we're trucking through season two. So that's probably what we were doing when she took that story picture there. But it's been great to be back in that show. I know you haven't seen it before, right? But we've talked about
No,
House of the
yeah,
Dragon on the show.
I need to watch it. You know what's
Oh, it's
funny about you?
incredible, man.
What's funny about you bringing that up? That we actually were just talking about that show over the weekend because
Really?
we were talking about different shows that like our friends felt like started great and then like kind of went towards the end. And we brought up
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we brought up Lost, and I was like, oh god, watching Lost in real time was like so frustrating week after week because it has basically one of the
It's
best
intimate, some
pilot.
of that.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
one of the best pilots like ever, and probably one of the
But
best first
change
seasons.
TV, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the best first seasons of a show ever. I mean, I think it kind of like reignited the whole like serialized TV shows, and then because after that you got like Prison Break and a lot of shows that were like, hey, you got to watch like week after week. And then I remember like I think it was like somewhere mid season three where I was just like, they're making this shit up as they go, and that frustrated me like immensely watching it because the creators would do interviews and they're like, oh, we definitely won't be this thing, we promise it won't be the same when the show ends. And I remember the last episode I was like, it was that thing, you like lied to us, and that was frustrating. And then one of my buddies brought up Game of Thrones, and he was like, I really wanted you to watch it, but like, fair warning, the last season is like doo-doo caca garbage. So like you're gonna be so mad when you watch the last season of the show. And I was like, do I want to watch something that I know a lot of people think like that final season is just not that
It's more
good? Or will I still
tragic
enjoy
than,
it?
yeah. I think you'll
Like, will
love
I
it
still
overall.
enjoy it
And
now?
and
Yeah.
it's softened on me as the years have gone on. And Cam even mentioned, he said he wasn't as harsh on the ending while rewatching the show, just maybe because you expect what's going to happen. And watching it in real time back in 2019 after binging that show and like literally becoming obsessed with it. I don't think I'd ever like binged a show like that before. And it was a worldwide
Yeah.
phenomenon. It was definitely like heartbreaking and then tragic just because now knowing like why that season was rushed and why
Yeah.
the series was basically ended on season 8 when the studio was saying that they would have financed more seasons, just for the creators to not even get the project that they were ending Game of Thrones for to even materialize, and basically it all
Yeah.
happened for nothing. That makes it, that's a bitter pill to swallow, but I'm still going into it. I really enjoying the rewatch and loving the show, and I would still recommend the show to anybody because I would say that at least for 7 seasons, that is like some of, if not the best television ever produced or ever will be produced. It is just incredible.
Yeah, I
So I
know
would
people
never
that
let
really love
season
it.
8. It's just 6 episodes. Like I wouldn't let it deter somebody from starting the show, and it's got an awesome spinoff as well. And it's just
Yeah,
a rich, huge environment to soak yourself into. And I've been loving it. I don't care. I'm bracing myself for that finale, but it is a journey and there's lots to love along the way. So anyway,
yeah,
I avoid spoilers at all costs if you can. I know some
yeah.
are
There,
just
there's
part of
there's
everyday
some I, of
conversation, but
course, I've never been
of
able to
course,
avoid. I mean,
same
like,
here. I knew lots of spoilers.
I guess like I know about the whole red wedding thing, and that was like a big deal when
That's
that
a
episode like
that's a big
aired.
one. I
I
cannot wait for her to watch that.
and I remember like I was like I couldn't avoid that spoiler because everyone was talking about it.
Yeah,
Like and I remember
it's
that was a big deal.
devastating.
And then of course I remember like as I think I'm the only one in my friend group that hadn't watched it. So I remember just going on like Instagram and stuff during that final season, and just my friends was posting like they were so frustrated because they felt like it was
Yeah.
rushed. And I was like, again, I was like, damn, can I enjoy it if I know like the indie is not gonna if it doesn't stick the landing entirely, I guess. Because my buddy was like, it's gonna be hard because like he's like, you still haven't forgiven Dexter. And I was like, yeah, that last season of Dexter
Yeah,
was
that's
garbage.
just another tough one.
Yeah, and it's garbage to the point where like I didn't really fully watch the New Blood one. I haven't watched the prequel series yet, and I know
I
that
watched New Blood. New Blood was good.
it was good. Okay, and
I enjoyed it, I should say.
and it was hard for me. I mean, I like Sarah Michelle Gellar's on the prequel series. Like Buffy, I should watch it, but like I haven't watched
Hmm.
that yet.
I haven't
And I
watched
know
that
that,
either yet, but
and I know they have like Dexter Resurrection coming out, like another like sequel series. So like, but I was like, I still have like deep rooted feelings about how awful that final season of Dexter was. Like I've
so
never like watched something where I thought like that almost ruined the whole show for me, dude.
yeah. I will say that season 9, New Blood, was a catharsis for what season 8 did to that show. There's obviously some things that can't be undone from season 8, but it did
Yeah,
serve as a better final chapter for the show overall. I mean, there was things I didn't love about the new season, but overall it was well done. But what I'm confused about this resurrection show, if you it's gonna I think you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit to make room for this new resurrection. Just based on how season 9 unfolds, I'm a little
yeah,
skeptical as to how that's going to go. But for me, at least now, Dexter ends on season 9. Season 5, 6, and 8 are just a little bit of a hurdle for me
yeah.
because that's a show I really loved as well. But yeah, I don't look at season 8 as the finale of that show anymore, and I feel better about New
You
Blood
feel
being
better
the
about it.
ending.
Just
It was good.
pretending
I would
like
check it out sometime. It's only like what 10 episodes or 9
yeah,
episodes or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. So
Just pretend like it
give it a
didn't.
watch sometime. It's a winter
Like
watch.
yeah, yeah. You just pretend like season 8 just didn't happen.
Yeah,
Sneaks to
some
it.
plot lines for sure, but
I will say what intrigues me about Resurrection, they cast some really cool people, I guess, like for like kind of multiple guest arcs and playing different serial killers, I guess. Like Kristen Witter,
okay. Yeah, I don't know much about it.
yeah, Kristen Ritter just got cast, like Jessica Jones, and John Lithgow's coming back as
Okay.
the Trinity Killer, I guess. Uh,
Okay.
they Neil Patrick Harris has a character arc on there. The rumor is that they're all playing like different serial killers, so like that's interesting. Like I mean, so I'm intrigued. I'll just have to get over my like I again like uh the whole thing about watching shows in real time too. Like I love the nature of like being able to like either binge it or watch as many as I want, but like
Mhm.
it was extra frustrating with like Lost and Dexter because like I'm waiting week after week. Like there's like
Yeah.
and at that point you're invested. Like I can't not watch it anymore. Like at this point I need to see like will this get better? And then like that last season of Dexter was like a dagger in my heart. I was like, what happened?
Mhm.
I like what happened in the writers' room? Should have ended probably ahead of that. Like maybe we didn't even need that extra season. But like you said, if New Blood kind of made up for that, and I know some
In
people
some
like the
ways.
prequel. I know some people like the prequel series too. It did pretty well for Paramount Plus on Showtime. So I did not know that IP or whatever would expand as much as it
I
has been.
know. 3 different projects. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't think so either, but I'm glad that it's got a little bit of a renaissance
yeah,
because I love the
and
show.
and suddenly for a little bit we became a TV podcast. Like we are going to talk about movies in just a second.
Yes.
One thing I want to say really quickly, I saw Novocaine over the weekend, and it was really really good. It opened at number one, but only to like $8.7 million. That is not a big opening weekend.
Saw
I don't
that.
know.
It's a really low open for number one.
It's one of the lowest box office weekends in forever. It's not a sign that like people aren't going to movies. It's just
it's just a not happening weekend, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, and also maybe this wasn't something that was intriguing to people. It was good. It got good reviews. Jack Quaid's good. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna hurt. I don't think it will hurt his potential as like a leading man and stuff, because like he was in Companion earlier this year, and that got great reviews, but didn't do like it made its money back, but it wasn't like a huge hit.
Right.
I don't know. He seems like he has more appeal than like people like want to see something that he's in, but like maybe it is like to a certain niche audience. Like, you know, everyone. I feel like everyone watches The Boys, but maybe everyone doesn't. So like maybe he's just not like a household name to everyone.
I definitely don't get that impression that he is.
Yeah.
I doubt that I have many friends that would know. I know they would know him as Huey from The Boys, but honestly, he's an actor who I do have trouble disassociating from the role as Huey in The Boys. Like, I feel like the performances I've seen of his, other than from the show, I do feel like he is like almost kind of playing that character. But I haven't seen Novocaine. He does look great in the trailers for it, and it's a movie that I'm wanting to check out. And I'm interested. And I liked him in Companion as well. I did think he played the villain quite well, or villainous character.
Yeah,
I guess
he has like a really interesting ability to be like, because he kind of played a variation of that in Scream, where he was like
Scream, yes.
Yeah, he could be likable, but then he also could easily be a douchebag. And it's not even like a mark on like him. Like, he's a good actor, but it seems like Jack Quaid has like a look and like the way he carries himself where it can go either way. Like, you're like, oh, I believe that he's like charming and likable, but then I can also believe like, oh, he's so good at playing like a dick, like as well.
Right.
Like, you know, like he has range, he has talent. I mean, I think that he does fall back on the self-deprecating thing, and that's a little that's kind of like what Huey is on The Boys. And when you watch Novocaine, you might feel like you're watching. It feels
probably
like he's a variation.
But if it works, it's fine. I don't need him to be 100 different people in every movie every role he has. But I do get Huey vibes from him when I do see him. But that's not. I like the character of Huey, and he does great on that show. That show was awesome.
Yeah. But I say all that to say too. Like, also, guys, you know, we always complain about like they don't make any original ideas anymore. There aren't any original movies. Black Bag got good reviews there too, with Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender's Steven Soderbergh movie. It didn't do that well this week either. So I guess we can't complain about original ideas not being out there if we don't go support them. So
exactly. The word's never been spoken, and that it does seem like we give all the attention and our box office dollars to sequels and legendary IPs and all this stuff, but and then we only have ourselves to blame if we don't go see them. And that's a couple movies I need to go see is Novocaine. Black Bag has been on my list since I saw that first teaser. And that's Soderbergh's second movie of the year already, behind Presence.
After Presence,
in, I think, earlier in February or maybe January.
January, yeah.
Really making an effort to go see that for sure. I did see The Monkey. Just a little update before we get into the actual news show. I wish I had seen it. I liked it. I think I put up a Letterboxd review the other day. I would say I liked it, but it fell short of love. I had some issues with it. In any case, I wish I'd seen it closer when you had seen it, because I would have liked to talk about it on the show. And I did have tickets to go see Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17, but of course, I got sick and missed the showtime. So I still plan on going to see that while it's in theaters. And then Black Bag will probably be the next one that I try to go see in theaters. So hopefully we can chat about one of those movies.
Yeah, on the show. I love Mickey 17. Another. I
saw you gave it quite a high rating, so that gave me some hope.
Yeah, another movie that should be doing better, but I mean, I guess like Bong Joon-ho got to make his like blank check movie. Like, he won a bunch of Oscars. A studio was like, hey, like, we want you. Here's money, and like that's cool. That's cool that he got to do that. Like, it was
I wish it didn't take 6 years though since Parasite. I don't understand. I know that the movie itself was delayed by over a year, but way too long of a gap.
And I also believe that Zaslav, who is in charge of Warner Brothers, and there's a lot of debate on if he runs it well, at least in the movie end.
Yes.
I don't think he had confidence even though it got good reviews. I don't think they knew how to market it well. And I think because of that, they shifted it around so much. And then, of course, that gives the impression when you shift a movie around too much that, oh, is it not
Right.
good? Is it this? Is it that? That ended up not being the case. But I honestly don't think Warner Brothers knew what to do with it. And granted, when you see it, it is a hard movie to market, I think, to everyone. I mean, it's like a very specific niche kind of sci-fi movie, and that doesn't appeal to
Maybe.
everybody. But they, I think there's some ways they could have like done more with marketing around. Like Robert Pattinson is so great, and I think he might be like my favorite thing that he's done. And
Yeah.
he is like so good. You could have maybe marketed around that aspect a bit more if it's harder to like sell sci-fi to like casual moviegoers. But I know that's true. Like everyone does not want to go see like a 2 hour long sci-fi movie
100%. But a lot of people
political
love Robert
undertones, right?
Pattinson. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
He's also
Yeah,
one of the biggest stars in the world right now. I don't think distancing that release time from his like success off of like the Batman did that movie
yeah,
any favors. And also Bong Joon-ho, who I know isn't going to appeal to like necessarily your like casual Western audiences. Obviously, he's
yeah,
a renowned filmmaker in the East and like the cinephiles who love his work. But
yeah.
a little bit closer to the release of his Best Picture winning like magnum opus from a few years ago.
Probably
I
would
don't
help.
know why putting more time in
Distance.
between those releases or distance was like a good idea, and that more so in the case of Robert Pattinson and the height that he's had over the
Yeah.
past few years. I don't think that changing that release date did anything for that movie to help it.
Yeah,
But
and I also think it's interesting too. Like, I mean, I of course, Parasite is great. It made a lot of money. It won a lot of Oscars. But then I was thinking about it when people were like, "Oh, like, see, they gave him all this money to do Mickey 17, and like maybe that was too much money, blah blah blah." But then I was like, he hasn't been like a mainstream movie director. Like, I don't know a lot of
no,
people that have seen like Snowpiercer. So like casual people would be like, "Oh, he made that." Like, so like he's
no,
never
yeah, you
been
would never
like
think that that's him.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's never been like a big like marquee like big IP director. So it's not like I it's a I think a narrative for trade sometimes is to, especially when it comes to like box office not being great. It's easier to write the narrative of like, oh, was it worth it to give him $118 million to make this movie? Like, if this is a worthy follow up to Parasite? Like it's always negative when they needed to like justify like why someone didn't go see something. So
Right.
instead of like you would think the trades that they need like movies to be successful, it's good on them. Instead of like writing like a headline where it's like, oh yeah, Novocaine opened to $8.7 million at number one, but it was the lowest, like blah 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 blah, in like this amount of time. Like it's just so negative. It doesn't really
Mhm.
inspire confidence. But I do
Definitely.
agree. I think a big problem is I love because I go see these movies in theaters, and I love being able to like watch them again at home. But I support them in theaters. But the theatrical window time is way too short. Like Mickey 17 will be on digital on March 25th, and it just came out. So
Yeah. It's been a
I'm like
week.
I remember where it felt like you almost had to wait like almost a year and a half for something to come out on like VHS and DVD and stuff. And now
I,
it's like within
it
like
does seem like that's forever ago, but
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy that that's not the case anymore. I do remember
yeah,
seeing something in theaters and loving it and wanting to watch it again at home and it being like, when is this going to release? And nowadays you got it within 2 weeks.
yeah. So like that whole 17-day 37 days depending on how well the movie opens, like I know that made sense during the pandemic and they were like, oh, we got to get these movies at home so people can watch them so we can make money,
Mhm.
but that's long since passed. And I think a lot of people, like casual people who don't really want to spend a lot of money on movies all the time, if they hear something is going to be available at home in 17 days, they might just wait and not go see it in theaters.
Well, yeah, it
Like,
doesn't incentivize people to go to the theaters, which
yeah,
is taking away box office dollars. I agree. It made sense during the pandemic, but it just doesn't make sense anymore. We're not in the pandemic anymore.
yeah, exactly. But speaking of a movie that is going to skip theaters because for some reason it's an Amazon Prime exclusive, even though the first movie made $97 million worldwide on like a $20 million budget. I don't understand why Another Simple Favor is going straight to Prime. I'm sure Paul Feig said the deal was always for it to go to streaming. That's the deals like he signed and the actor signed. Uh, I think the first one proved that like you can make a movie like that and it can make money. So it is disappointing that it's only going to be available on Prime, but it had its big premiere at South by Southwest, and it was like the talk of the festival, not only
Okay.
because of the movie, but because of
Its
the elephant
star.
the elephant in the room involving its star. Um, I when they announced that they were going to premiere it there, I was like, oh, that's pretty bold. Like in the middle of all this, like so they must be confident in the movie, or that it could be the case of like any publicity is good publicity for them. So like if it's they're talking about it, so everyone wants to go see it no matter what. But it kind of showed me that they have confidence in the movie rather than just like maybe like, well, everyone's discussing her, like let's just release it in the middle of all this like chaos, because sometimes studios don't like to release movies in the middle of chaos because it takes like the attention away from the film, and like that it can hurt the film's potential sometimes. So
sometimes free publicity is great.
yeah, and I wondered even if she was gonna go, because I was like, well, will she? And she did. She went to the premiere, walked the red carpet, took pictures with fans, uh, introduced the movie with Anna Kendrick and Paul Feig on stage. Seemed very happy to be there. There was one moment on the red carpet where she was wearing one outfit and did like a abrupt like wardrobe change in the middle of like walking the carpet, and it was pretty seamless. It was pretty sexy. Good for you. She seems confident. She seems like you would think that this big thing isn't happening to her
this
right
lawsuit with Baldoni,
Baldoni, and I know it's like I told you offline. I'm like that. I think that's the best kind of like, I don't want to say revenge. That might be the wrong word, but like if you're going through something like this, like you shouldn't really hide, right? Like she went to the SNL 50 thing with Ryan Reynolds. They walked that carpet together. Like she's obviously not like shying away from being in public, and I think some people would in her situation. Like they may think it'd be like, oh, it might distract from what I'm working on, or I don't want to deal with like having my publicist say like, okay, don't ask her about this like during every interview. But nope, she looked like she was enjoying herself. Now, I mentioned this to you that there's a lot of content creators that are just creating blatant lies about her, and people are reading a lot of these are as facts, and like, and yeah, and if you look at some of these pages, they're getting a lot of hits and a lot of followers, a lot of people retweeting these stories, and then like some of them have just been proven to be like lies, and that's why there's a fine line now between content creators and journalists, and like that. I hate that line is so messed up now, because like some people are like looking at these some people are looking at these content creators as genuine like journalists who are providing like accurate information, and I really don't. I mean, I guess the more popular narrative is to label her the villain because it's going to get you more attention. And like I told you too, we said that both things could be true. Like she could have been difficult and he could have been a creep, and like both things could have happened. But I just think it's a weird narrative, and they use that premiere as like an excuse to write more stuff about her. But Paul Feig, actually, there was a few people that posted stories, and he posted on their stuff like, "This isn't true. You guys need to stop doing this. Like, you're spreading like blatant lies." And now the big lie was like her and Anna Kendrick don't get along. And if you cherry pick certain interviews and certain times that they aren't pictured together, they can make it look like they don't like each other. And that's what these people have done. Like I guess someone asked on the carpet, they asked Anna Kendrick like, "Oh, what was it like to work with Blake Lively again?" And she kind of ignored it and like kept walking.
She brushes off the question. I did see that, and it was in my brain for this conversation. I was like, "Is there some truth to that?" But again, that's a completely random moment out of context. She might have been done answering questions, or and there could be any reason for her not to answer that. But I did see that. You're right. That this does get back to people and creates a narrative. 100%.
And I guess she could have like given a Blake, like, now if you watch it though, she is walking down the line like signing stuff and talking. So it could have been like she was in a hurry and like the timing was just bad, but she just wanted to go. Or she probably was like, I don't even want to like entertain that like question, because I'm sure that's
she's probably
they're gonna try
they probably answered it 100 times already.
Right. And they're probably gonna try to transition it into talking about like the case, right? So like she probably just wanted to keep it moving. Another interviewer asked her like, what's it like to have this movie coming out with all the stuff that's going on this year? And by stuff they meant Blake Lively stuff. And then she made a joke that she was like on a ayahuasca trip for the whole year. So she's like, did I miss something? That something big happened? And so she made a joke out of it. And some people thought like because she made the joke that like she just didn't want to discuss Blake Lively because she doesn't like her. And like I said, I guess if you edit clips together the right way, you can look that way. I know the one on the press line looked like, even I at first was like, well, damn, she didn't answer the question. Like, because it seems like a simple one, like, oh, it was great. She could have kept it moving like that, but she didn't
For
say anything.
sure.
She just got like,
She went like,
and like,
oh, you know, and
hey,
then kept going. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's all she said.
it
Yeah.
does. Yeah, I don't know. But again,
But
that one clip is not enough to determine, the intricacies of their relationship and if they like each other or not. That's
yeah,
pretty insignificant clip, but it doesn't look, you know, doesn't look
yeah,
much of anything. I guess we'll put it that
yeah,
way. But
yeah. But do you think releasing having one, do you think it was good that Blake Lively went and just was like, I'm just gonna show face and go? And do you think it could be a distraction from the movie, or will it just bring more attention to the movie, which is you can happily watch at home? It's not they're not even worried about like box office, right? It's being sent to
yeah, that's
streaming.
true.
So
Well, I'll put it this way. I don't know that I know one way or another the implications of her going to if I were an actress or an actor and a film that I was starring in that I wanted to do well was premiering at a film festival like South by Southwest, I would take every opportunity to go and watch it premiere and take advantage of the red carpet. Plus, if I was
yeah,
going through this humongous, spotlight shining lawsuit with a director and star that I just worked on this project with, and my name was being dragged through the mud, I don't.
yeah,
I think that staying home and staying out of the spotlight would probably, or it would at least run the risk of having the public sort of like subconsciously associate me as being like in the wrong, or like that these allegations aren't true about me, like what he's alleging against her. And I think to go and embrace your new movie and sort of put the drama at least to the background for now would
yeah,
probably help you get through something like that. So I don't think that like it also probably just, I think, helps the narrative, like again, subtly and subconsciously, that she's not concerned about all this other drama and stuff.
yeah,
So I think by going, I think that's probably what I would do, and the advice that I would give to somebody in her shoes. If you had something else to divert your attention away from in the meantime, I would say, yeah, embrace that. Go to the premiere of this other movie that's unrelated to the drama that you're going through. Like, have a good time. You wouldn't want to wallow in this drama forever until that case was
right,
behind you, would you? So I don't blame her for going, and I think it's not going to hurt the movie. If anything, it's going to bring positive and negativity to that movie, and inevitably it's just going to bring more attention to it, which is, if people are watching it on Amazon, then that's a good
yeah,
news case at the end of the day. So no, I
yeah,
don't blame her at all for going there and bringing attention to her new movie, which again, I told you off camera while we were recording, I don't have much to say about it. I did watch the teaser, and I do remember when the first one, A Simple Favor, was premiering a few years ago. I remember the trailers, but I never
yeah,
ended up seeing it. So anyway, it looks like a good time. Like you said, Gone Girl vibes for sure.
yeah.
Like a cool
It
murder mystery.
yeah, the first one was a pleasant surprise. Like I wasn't like, I remember being surprised that the reviews were so good before I went to go see it. I was like, oh, like this actually might be like good, and not just like, we want to see Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively on screen together. Like it actually turned
Right.
out to be pretty clever, and like Paul Feig had never really directed a movie like that. But then it has like such like darkly funny undertones. I was like, okay, that's probably why he was good at a good director for it, because he mostly does like comedy, right? He really does do like dramas or thrillers, and that's what it was marketed as initially. But like it really was like a really kind of dark spin on that, and then like it was really
Okay.
clever. Didn't know that they were gonna make a sequel, because it did not. It's not a movie that screams like, oh, they should make another one. But it
Right.
almost felt like, he likes making the movie with that group of people, and everyone from the first one that can't come back is back, and then they have a few additional, like Allison Janney's new to the cast, and Elizabeth Perkins. Like, so there's new people also in it. It seemed like they just wanted to have a good time in Capri, Italy, and shoot something real fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. And if it turns out like the reviews are pretty good right now. So if you got to go to Italy for a couple months and have a good time, and it's interesting because she filmed this like right after it ends with us. She filmed it right as she was dealing with all that. If you believe
Right.
her side of it, so like the people that worked on this movie said that it was definitely something that they knew about, because she wasn't like kind of how she was when she made the first one. Like she was always professional, but like you could tell like something was weighing on her, basically, is what some of the cast said. But it doesn't look like that affected her performance. From that teaser trailer, some of the stuff she has in there is pretty funny, and like it looks like her and Anna Kendrick had a good time. If they don't like each other, then like that's a really great we don't like each other chemistry on screen, because they actually like work. They were really good in the first one together, and it seems like they are fun in this. And I don't know, it looks fun. I it looks fun, and I hope it does well. I mean, our people will receive it well, and it won't just like kind of like hate bashing because they're mad at her, or they or
Right.
want
Well,
to
I
be
think
mad at
that's
her.
kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
Right, right. But yeah, I like to see the trailer too. I thought it was good, and having seen the first one, it feels like it's just right in line, and maybe even leaning more into it being a little funnier than, because the funny stuff
Okay.
in the first one was like a little bit of a surprise. They definitely didn't market that part of the movie when the movie came out. But I think now that they know what the audience knows what to expect, they can kind of lean into the funny things a bit more. So yeah, I think it looks good. Good for her for like showing face and showing up, and not, like you said, wallowing and hiding at home. So
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
so good on her. But also, like, people, make sure you when you are reading stuff. I guess it can be entertaining to read stuff that it's not true. I can't even see the point of like entertaining some of these people, but I don't know. Don't believe everything you read. Try to find something reputable to, like, as like a source of
Easier said than
information.
done these days, guys.
Yeah,
People,
I
and
know.
myself included, probably just believe the first headline they click.
I
The
know. I think
days of
this that's
responsible internet browsing are that ship has sank.
yeah. I think that was like, this is mad wishful thinking on my part, but you're right. It's definitely
But people
easier
know
said
better
than
for
done.
sure, whether it's legit news or if it's entertainment industry news. Like, yeah, you read everything with a grain of salt. 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, I know this next one that we kind of want to talk about, like, on another news show, like, when the story came out. But I think we were trying to see if it was 100% confirmed. It seemed like really interesting and kind of weirdly too good to be true. And like, I didn't think these combinations of people would do a movie together. But uh, yeah, I don't know if you want to tee up.
Well, yeah, 100%. This is never a collaboration I ever would have expected to read before, but we have. It's been circulating for a few weeks now that Dwayne Johnson's confirmed to star in Martin Scorsese's next picture, which I believe he'd be co-starring with Leonardo DiCaprio, and I don't know if anybody else is cast. I don't even know
Oh, Emily
what
Blunt,
the
another
movies.
one.
And Emily Blunt, yes, that's right.
And,
There's a
and, you
trio
know,
of them.
and I think this will be the
Not gonna.
third time he worked with her, because like he did Jungle Cruise with her, and he has an A24 movie where he's playing like a MMA fighter that could get good
That's
Oscar
right.
buzz too. She's in that with him, and now this.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Dwayne John. It is interesting. I'm just gonna outright say it that I'm not a huge Dwayne Johnson fan. Just because,
I feel bad saying it sometimes. Like, I don't like not like him. Like, it's not like he's not a detriment to like things I go see. Like, when he's in
no,
something and he's good, I'm like, all right, he was good, that was fun.
he
But
just
there's
picks like the same
yeah,
low brow, really safe kind of movie.
yeah,
He's an entertainer. I wouldn't say that he's like a serious actor. Not to get
yeah,
judgy there, but like he doesn't pick projects that like I'm really interested in going to see. I think now though, especially with that wrestling movie that you mentioned that he's starring in, like it does seem, and then working with Martin Scorsese, seems like maybe he's starting to pivot a little bit in his career. I always compare him to Dave Bautista, both former WWE stars that branched out into acting. And if you compare
yeah,
those careers, Dave Bautista outshines Dwayne Johnson like 1,000 times to one. He's worked with fantastic directors consistently, like everything from the MCU to working with like Denis Villeneuve multiple times, working with M. Night
yeah,
Shyamalan, picking like really great diverse roles. And then Dwayne Johnson's been in like 4 movies that are all the same, like Jungle Cruise,
yeah,
Jungle Book, uh, Red Notice, which just tanked. Whatever. I think it's great if he wants to branch out and do more like filmy type movies. That's awesome. I sometimes though I do think his ego is not sometimes I do think this about him, that his ego is a bit big for his britches. Like I just don't love the guy. So
yeah.
I don't know what I feel about this news. I love Martin Scorsese, and if he auditioned in front of him and Scorsese thought he was the man for the job, then I'll go in. Like I trust that guy. He's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. So to cap off what you said, interesting to say the least. I have no idea what this project is going to be, but never something I would have thought I'd have read before. But if that's what Dwayne Johnson's
Yeah.
wanting to do with his career, then good for him.
Well, it sounds it sounds very Martin Scorsese, like what this movie is supposed to be. I bet, and yeah, and I think before I even like read what it's supposed to be about, I think what it happened with Dwayne Johnson, and he would probably never fully admit it, but I think the whole like Black Adam fallout made him
There's
question,
another
made
reason.
him was like
Yeah.
a was a it bruised his ego, I think, and I think he really
Oh,
did,
for sure.
and I think he really did think about like, okay, like what do I need to do to kind of not transition out of like making movies like this, but like how do you kind of reevaluate like where you at? You're like, and by the way, why I say reevaluate where you're at your career, like he's not hurting for anything. He will
No,
always be
definitely
in
not.
stuff.
For
He'll
sure.
always be in stuff, right? But like I think even he wanted to change the perception of like, okay, like who he is as a performer and an actor. I mean, I'm glad you brought the Dave Bautista thing because I remember Dave Bautista dropping like not so subtle shade when someone was like, "Oh, like, so you're kind of like, you and Dwayne Johnson both come from wrestling. Like, do you want to have like a career like his?" And he basically was like, "I want to make films," and
Yeah.
indicated that which indicated to me that like he thought that Dwayne Johnson makes like popcorn fluff and not films.
Popcorn.
And
Yeah. Well, yes,
yeah,
I completely
yeah.
agree.
So I mean, I respect any transition to something a little bit better. If he can pivot and prove that he can like act, then I'm all
Yes.
for it.
Then
Um,
I would say all the power to him. I wish him well. I don't want to see movies like, again, I know we cover all sorts of things and everyone can have their opinion on what they want to watch, but like for me personally, like I'm not really going to make the time to see things like Red Notice or Jungle Cruise, like the stuff that
yeah,
he
yeah.
sort of excels in. Like I
I
would
mean, like,
rather see him in a Martin Scorsese picture. So that's,
yeah,
if he's going to do that, I want it to be good. So I want him to succeed in that. So it is kind of exciting to see if this is where he's going to take his career.
yeah.
Because I would like to
And
see
if
him do
anything,
different stuff.
too, he is like, on top of being like an entertainer, actor, businessman, he is a classic like self promoter. So like, if his new,
Yes, he is.
if his new direction is like, I want to make cinema and I want to like prove I'm more than just like a popcorn, marquee actor who can only do certain movies. Uh,
Right.
I feel like he can market that transition really well. 'Cause he is good at it. I mean, he is really good at even his failures don't really always feel like failures because the way that he
Exactly.
presents
He's
it,
able to spin things. Yes.
spin it really well.
He,
So like kudos to him because like Red
for
Notice didn't do
sure.
all that great. Like I mean he boasts about how it did well on like when it went to streaming, but during its like the actual run, it didn't make like a ton of money, and that
And it was
movie was
way too over budgeted.
yeah, it was super expensive, and but he leaned into the whole like the streaming numbers and all that stuff. So like you can
Yes.
deflect to distract people from like what it
It,
being like a bomb. I guess some people said it wasn't a bomb, but maybe it was like a because of the deal they had with Prime. I don't know. They always make excuses as to why like these are kind of like even though they're very expensive, they try to say that they're low risk endeavors for these services, but
right.
I don't know. A movie with that much budget doesn't seem like a low risk endeavor. um, but yeah, yeah, he's really good at it. So yeah, kudos to him. I mean, it sounds interesting. They said it's inspired by the true story of a ruthless Hawaiian crime boss, and they said that it kind of harkens back into the style and like feeling of like Goodfellas. So uh,
Okay. I think the
it,
Hawaiian setting, and obviously like that is great. Like Dwayne Johnson's like the guy for that. But that's
yeah,
really interesting. We haven't seen much in movies like of that culture. Definitely not in like the crime syndicate scenario. So I think that sounds really intriguing.
yeah, and yeah, it's set in the 60s and 70s, and yeah, he would play a formidable criminal boss who is in the charge of a formidable criminal empire fighting against mainland corporations and rival syndicates while striving to protect his ancestral land. It's a tale of cultural survival amidst a ruthless quest for power, unfolding in the unlikely setting of paradise. I don't know, it sounds interesting. So,
Yeah.
and these are just all the names I wouldn't expect to like be in a movie together, like Leonardo DiCaprio and Dwayne Johnson. Emily Blunt makes sense because they've done movies together, but
Yeah.
like, and then like, and Martin Scorsese, like, I mean, and Martin Scorsese has like all these rumors of like stuff that's in development for him, right? Like he was supposed to do a Sinatra biopic with Leo, but then he was supposed to do another movie. I wonder if he like has all these ideas. I don't know if like Dwayne Johnson pitched this to him. I don't even know how this came about, but like, if this was something that
I
like he
think he has
like,
something to do with
it
that.
seems like they're yeah, and it seems like they're moving fast on it. Like it is one of those things where it was like, hey, we got to get this going like now. So like they must. I mean, it's an intriguing lineup of characters, and I'm for it. I hope he does well with it. And like you said, I think I feel the same way you do about it, where it's like if I see something that he's in, it's like I don't rush out of my way to go see it. Like I don't think the Fast and Furious movies count because you're gonna see those anyway.
Well,
But like when I see
those are
stuff
different.
but when I see stuff like Jumanji and he happens to be like decent in it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's kind of funny in that. But then you start to see trailers for like all his movies, and you're just like, I feel like you're doing the same thing, just like slightly different variations of the same plot, and
yes,
you're playing the same guy. So I don't know. I'll take Ruthless Hawaiian Crime Boss over Skyscraper any day. So.
I would love for him to just kind of step down off the ladder a little bit, be willing to like lose, quote unquote, in like this no win clause, this ego thing that he has. Like that's what keeps me away from like really embracing him as an actor. I just can't stand him sometimes like that. Yeah, I think he just is living in his WWE days. And I don't know, like, I want not to get into the weeds of all that, but he did have this really unpopular stunt in the WWE where he kind of came out of retirement and sort of upended to this up and comers big debut, like to kind of take over the mantle, and Dwayne just couldn't handle it and had to take the spotlight over. And he's just an egomaniac anyway. But I'm excited, I guess, intrigued about what he's got lined up for Martin Scorsese, because God love him, Martin Scorsese doesn't have probably too many projects left in him. So I want everything he has left to put out to be awesome. And I love when he collaborates with Leo. So Leo's also someone that's been on a drought. He's not put out a lot in the last few years, and we need
that's
more.
true.
And he's got some things coming out soon. But
was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the last thing he did?
No, he was in Don't Look Up in 2021.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was like really run of the like mid tier, not great, but not bad. So, and then
I forgot all about that movie.
He does have. I know, I forgot about it too. But he does have Paul Thomas Anderson's movie that's coming out either this year or next year. So there's something.
Virginia Hall and stuff. Yeah. So
since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he's only had, I think, one credit, and that's 6 years now. So.
Too busy dating like young models, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. From federal agents. I think he has some shelves in his closet or something. Here's something though that I did not expect to see, and other than the Netflix angle, I had heard of this other bits of it, but this is new. But again, the last person I would think to be behind this Stephen King adaptation, but so there's a Cujo remake in the works right now over at Netflix, being helmed by Darren Aronofsky, who filmmaker I love. I know we've covered him on this channel before when we talked about Mother, and we revisited that movie. I'm a fan of most of his works that I've seen. I haven't seen his whole filmography. Anyway, I love him. I would never really peg him to do something like this, but were you surprised to hear this news, or what do you think about it overall, I guess?
Well, this is one of the stories that, like, I guess there was a benefit to you not being able to record till today. Is that this part of the news actually dropped today, that Houston talks for it. This news got dropped last week that they were remaking it for Netflix. And I was very disinterested in it because I was like, oh, why are they remaking it for Netflix? And also,
until Aronofsky, I'm like, okay, whatever.
But then when I saw this, I was like, well, okay, now I'm kind of interested. But then I was like, it doesn't even feel like something that he would want to do. But they said that the movie remains in early stages of development, and Aronofsky has yet to have a creative meeting with Netflix. But should the deal close, the film will mark Aronofsky's first feature for a streaming service too. That's also interesting. It's an interesting choice, and I guess that would make everyone a little bit more interested in it. Because I didn't see everyone being too like jazzed about them remaking it when that news broke. It's also a random fucking movie to remake. I mean, have you seen Cujo?
The 83 one? No, I've not. I also find it hard to imagine this plot stretched into a feature-length film. Like, it's about a dog that goes crazy and traps a mom and child in her car, right? Like, I get obviously, like, I think it's meant for the page. Like, I don't know how the 83 film is received. I know it's iconic and it's Stephen King, but I just have trouble imagining this is a feature-length film. But have you seen it? Are you a fan of it? I love Stephen King. Like, I'm gonna watch it, but
I haven't watched it in so long. I mean, it's a really long time. And I remember being like entertained by it in the moment, but it's not like top tier Stephen King adaptation.
No, I definitely don't think so.
And that concept of like having a rabid dog like kind of basically trap son and mother in the car, like like during a very hot time of year too. So there's like all this stuff that's like going against them in that moment where like they could die like fucking heat exhaustion or heat stroke in the car, but if they get out, they're gonna get like eaten by this dog, and like so it's like one of those ideas that you're right. Sounds better on the page. Also, it could be like a good short film, maybe.
Short film, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where it feels like this is meant for. So,
but
like an anthology series, like just like an hour and a half or more of that. I don't know how you flesh that out, but anyway, Aronofsky is fantastic. So I'm interested to see what he comes up with and how he works this story for Netflix.
Yeah.
But,
so that was the only reason that I was even like entertaining the idea of this happening.
Exactly. Essentially, me too.
Yeah, because when I saw it, I was like, wait. I was like, who's posting this? And then it was like, oh, Variety and Hollywood Reporter. I was like, well, this is legit. Okay, like, well, that's interesting that he would even want to do that.
Yeah. And this is what his first thing after The Whale.
Yeah.
Or is he have anything else in the works?
No, that would be his first thing, and it's interesting because it's like, how do you go from that to like, I'll entertain the Cujo remake for Netflix? But all right, well. If anything, it might elevate the movie. I mean, it could be much better than like the original and like better than we think it is with him behind the camera.
I'm kind of expecting, 42 years is a long time between adaptations. So I think it's, ripe for the remake. I just would question if like a theatrical or a feature length is really the best framework for this story. I think it would work better in a shorter format, but you know what? I'll let them take care of that. I'm sure that they know best. So in any case, it'll be something that I look out for on Netflix. It's that those things are few and far between. So
yeah, great. And I guess these next three stories, we have like casting updates for some movies. Spider-Man 4, I guess this is the first like significant casting in the movie other than Tom Holland. There's like a big debate online because originally they said Zendaya was signed up for this, but now they're saying that she might have a reduced role in it. It seems like it'd be really silly not to have her back because like she's a big star. But I mean, I don't know what direction they're taking the story, but Sadie Sink is now in Spider-Man 4, and there are a lot of rumors on who she might be playing. Some people think that she's been fan casted as Jean Grey, who is of course X-Men, and they think that they could be introducing her here to like eventually introduce her fully in X-Men. That seems like an option. It seems like a weird option to throw her in there as Jean Grey in Spider-Man 4. So I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but a lot of people think that could be the case.
This does coincide with like the X-Men integrating into the MCU. Like that's been the talk for years, and we're kind of moving towards that. So that's a really interesting theory. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't really dwell on what role she would have in that movie, but Sadie Sink is a great young actress, and also was in The Whale too.
Yeah, and a lot of people will know her from that and Stranger Things, and the other casting rumor, since she is a redhead, is that she could be Mary Jane Watson. But this Spider-Man universe already has its MJ, and that would be Zendaya.
It would be very confusing.
Who is not, of course, not Mary Jane. Her name's Michelle, but they call her MJ because it was supposed to be like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, oh, this is our MJ, like, right? I'm glad they're not really revealing who she's playing yet. Keep it a secret as long as you can, I guess. But Mary Jane would be weird. It would just be like you already have one. I mean, I know like you can introduce a new girlfriend for him, right? Like another obvious one would be like you could introduce like Felicia Hardy, who was like Black Cat in the comic books. There's like other girls that like they could introduce. I mean, I don't think this universe has a Gwen Stacy.
I was about to ask. I don't think so either.
I know that, of course, the Amazing Spider-Man did, and with Andrew Garfield, but like, there's like a lot of options that she could play. I see what you're saying with X-Men. Like, it could be a way to introduce them, and that would be a significant role, like the character to introduce. So, the movie's coming out in July, I believe, 2026, and I believe it's pretty close to the release date of the Odyssey. So good for Tom Holland, I guess.
Yeah.
He's gonna have him and Zendaya are gonna have a hell of a 2026. Which they are both booked and busy right now.
Yes, they are. They're super hot talents right now, and Zendaya will be busy with the third Dune installment as well, probably around that time as well. So
Yeah, and and she's going to be the voice of Shrek's daughter in Shrek
yeah,
5. So that
that's
doesn't
right.
really that doesn't really. I guess she could do that from home probably, but that doesn't really take a
True.
lot of effort. But yeah, like interesting that he could possibly have these two really big movies coming out so close together. The other casting bit too, Kathryn Newton, who I guess she has become like scream queen. She's in a lot of like genre horror movie stuff. She was in Abigail, I think most recently, and she joined the cast of Ready or Not 2, which already has Samara Weaving returning. The Radio Silence guys are directing and writing it again. I loved Ready or Not. I don't know if you saw it, but I love that idea, and it was really well done. Again, another movie that I wasn't like when they announced the sequel. I was like, "Can you do it?"
I did see it, but I honestly I didn't really put a lot of like effort into that watch. I guess it's probably the best way. I kind of came and went for me. Like I didn't really dwell on it after I watched it. I can't really remember the setting that I watched it in, but I just don't remember a whole lot about it. But I did see it. But I think to have any meaningful discussion about it, I would need a rewatch. But I also do remember coming out of that being like, I don't know where there's room for a sequel, but that's interesting. And I didn't really, I guess, I don't really remember any of the updates or developments about that sequel. I kind of actually forgot about it until I saw it here in our agenda. But Kathryn Newton is a nice, great up and comer, and you're right, definitely got a lot of horror under her belt already.
Yeah, and the horror fanboys love her. Like she's a really and a lot of people love working with her. She is a good actress. I mean, I've liked her in like most of the stuff I've seen her in. And there are also rumors that Melissa Barrera could be cast in this. The Radio Silence guys love her. They loved working with her in Scream. They gave her Abigail right in the middle of her dealing with the whole like
that's right.
I got fired from Scream debacle. So so they love working with her. So that's another rumor that. But yeah, I also love Samara Weaving, who also is a Scream queen in her own right too. Like
100%.
There's a lot of horror. So I'm intrigued. I did love the first Ready or Not. I didn't see where they can make another one. But I mean, I feel that way about the Black Phone too, as well. Like where it's like that was a good original idea. I don't know how you're gonna do this.
Don't know where you're getting back into that story, but
yeah,
I really like the first one as well. So
and and then another casting thing, another dead character is coming back for Scream 7.
make sense. They got obviously something big planned for Scream 7 because we've got David Arquette coming back. Add him to the laundry list of characters from that series that have died or presumably died. You got an interesting theory. What did you say off camera that you're thinking it could have something to do with like AI deepfakes?
Yeah,
I think that's a really interesting idea.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Or I think when we talked about Scott Foley, who was in Scream 3, who definitely did, and Matthew Lillard, depending on what fans you're at, could not be dead or is dead or dead.
Totally think
you believe
dead.
But we talked about this too, and you were like, or it has to be some kind of dream or something like Sydney's going through, like thinking of all these people like who have died. And we said when we talked about with Scott Foley and Matthew Lillard that the story was that they believe more dead characters are coming back for Scream 7, and that's the only thing I can think of. Either it's a dream or the AI deepfake thing could be interesting, and that would be interesting for Scream because Scream has always like tried to be kind of topical and like adding the stuff to its plot, dealing with like real life kind of like things in the industry, things that are like kind of happening and trying to integrate it into the plot because like the characters, the villains usually are also smart and they kind of are taking these new developments and trying to use them to find Sydney once again. But the cast is already stacked. There's a lot of people in the movie, so I can't imagine like these dead people being much around in a significant way. They're definitely not retconning Scream 5 and 6 because you got Chad and Mindy coming back as the characters they played in 5 and 6. So they're not like gonna be like, oh no, like Dewey survived, and like they're not gonna do that. I would think. But it does have everyone going like when I saw this, I was like, okay, I know I say I don't want a lot of explanations and I want to be surprised, but a part of me is also like, can I get like a little bit of an explanation so like it makes sense to me? But Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of, man. It's
If
Dream or it's AI.
if they're not huge roles, like if it is something like a dream sequence or something where they're only appearing for a scene or something, I kind of wish this anyway, regardless of how the actors are utilized in the movie. I think that's such a great missed opportunity to have a surprise in the
Yeah,
theater for fans to see these, what's the word there I'm looking for? What do we
like
call like
cameos or anything like.
just not legendary cast, but
Oh, like legacy characters, like bringing all these
legacy,
people.
not
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
legacy
yeah,
cast members to
yeah,
feature in the film. Like, how awesome would that have been to just have that happen on the screen and not have it months in advance spoil that they were going to appear? It's just something that always bothers me. We can't have anything kept under wraps
yeah,
these days. But it does make sense if they're in for a major appearance in the movie, which again, how that's going to happen, I don't understand. But
yeah.
anyway, well, I
So
guess we'll see how it all unfolds.
and
What is it due for later this year? Or is it a 2026
no,
release?
oh, and February 2026, and they just
Right.
wrapped
Oh,
filming
yes, I knew
this.
that.
This is gonna be a long post production because it
Yeah.
comes. So I mean, and I'm actually all for a long post production to make sure that it's right, like get it right. I guess don't rush it. And but yeah, it depending on like knowing like they wrapped. I think they wrapped today or yesterday.
Oh,
And
wow.
knowing that,
Okay.
and then knowing that the release date is like so far away, like oh wow,
Yeah, a
they're
year. That is a long
yeah, it's gonna be a
post.
really long post production. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm trying to trust in Kevin Williamson, and yeah, yeah, you know, I'm just gonna hope for the best.
Yeah.
it,
Fingers are crossed for
sometimes,
that series. I know how much it means to you, and I'll
yeah,
be,
yeah,
it gives us and other viewers lots of time to, refresh themselves on the series. I'll probably, just because we just covered Scream 3, I'm sure I'll watch. I think I'm due for a rewatch of the first.
yeah.
And I already watched 2 and 3 like semi recently, and then 4 I'm super due. So I might watch 1 and 4 and then see if
I
I have
think
time.
4 is like I think that has a milestone anniversary next year. I think I think it I think it turns 15.
Yeah, 2011. Yeah, yeah, I think you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So like that might be a good time to revisit, like right before
true that.
uh the new one comes out. But yeah, yeah, I'm intrigued. I will try to trust the process and like hope that it's not a really dumb idea how they're going to do
Hmm.
this and make it work. Um, I guess this was to be a good one for you. So this is kind of a rumor, but Discussing Film did post like who some of the actors in the Odyssey are going to be playing.
Right.
And Discussing Film usually doesn't like post like stuff that's like rumors. Like they have like a good like intel on like these things usually. So that's why I you know was went about like adding it to the agenda because I was like it was interesting. But had you seen any of this yet, or like who like the actors could be playing?
Other than I did see, I think that Tom Holland is slated to play Odysseus' son, who has a name that I can't be bothered to
I
try to
think it's
pronounce at the moment.
is it Telemachus? I'm gonna go with that. That's what
I'd
it
have to
says
see
here.
it to know how it's pronounced. And then Zendaya as Athena, I think. Or
Athena,
do I have that
yeah,
wrong?
and then
Yeah.
no, yeah, Athena, Matt Damon, Odysseus, Anne
Yep.
Hathaway, Penelope, uh,
Right.
Benny Safdie. Yeah, Benny Safdie is Agamemnon.
Oh,
I think I got that right.
yes.
And
Yep.
then Charlie Theron is it Cersei or Circe?
Yep.
So like that.
Who I don't know
Yeah.
who that
So
character is in Greek myth, but all the others I'm familiar with, so that's awesome.
yeah, and
Benny Safdie,
Lupita
I
Nyong'o's
think is sweet.
yeah, Lupita Nyong'o's character name. I feel like I'm gonna butcher it. It's like damn. It's Clytemnestra. Uh, that's who she might be playing as well.
Okay.
So and like it
Not what I
seems legit.
recognize.
Like it
Oh,
seems
I'm
legit.
sure
And
it
like,
is. Yeah.
and there's been a lot of leaked photos and stuff from the set. A
Seen
lot,
a couple
and
of
everyone
those.
kind of yeah. I saw the ones with Tom Holland and John Berthal together. There
Hmm.
was also one that they released of Matt Damon and that, yeah. So I'm excited. I love like everyone that has what they know about the movie and like it beginning filming already is that he is going as practical can be. So there's not going to be a lot
Yes.
of even though it's going to be a very expensive movie, probably his most expensive movie, but he is going to do things as practical as he can. So like I'm excited for that. But I thought it was interesting that they have like a little intel on who these people could be playing and like And I guess like reading it and then looking at like people who have like illustrated like images of like these people and stuff like art and all that. I was like, I guess that some of it works. Like, you can see it. And now there's just a matter of like how big some of these roles will be for some of these people because
That's what it'll come down to.
They keep adding random names to the cast. I'm like, all right, some of these people have to be in this movie for like 5 minutes, if that. But yeah, I am very excited for it, and I know you are too. So any updates?
Of course, goes without saying, Chris Nolan.
I will take. The only reason I'm adding this, we added this one because we have a few trailers to talk about, and it was a good transition into the first live action trailer we'll be discussing from Disney. But Snow White is coming out this weekend, and it has been like marred in so much controversy and
for like over a year now. This movie has been,
and I wanted your take on it because one, they did not do a big like Hollywood premiere for it. There wasn't like they did like an event, and they had the screening at the El Capitan Theater here in Hollywood. The course the stars went, but like press was not invited, so there was no like formal interviews with press. And then there was just like a handful of like people that work for the studio taking professional photos, having Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot act nice and post pictures together because there's a big debacle about they don't really get along because of their
way of putting it.
Yeah, everyone keeps saying because of their very, very different political beliefs. Rachel Zegler is, if anything, like well, God, like of all I've actors before her, which I don't mind it. If you want to speak your mind, speak. But she's been known to speak her mind, and it gets her in a lot of hot water. A lot of people don't like her because of that. But she's dealt with this since she started. I mean, like even when she got cast in West Side Story, people questioned if she was like really Latina and a bunch of other shit. And like she's dealt with a lot of stuff. And then when she got cast in this, I guess a lot of you got a lot of races out there who are just like, hey, no, Snow White's white. Why do they cast a Latina to play Snow White? Oh, this is going to be like a woke version of Snow White. So there was all that. And then she didn't help herself when she was like, well, our movie's going to be different because basically
that
stalks
is where it comes down to. She did not help this movie at all when how she was like, well, for lack of a better term, just shitting on the original, the movie that catapulted Disney and is ultimately responsible for this role that she's playing. And she just came off very, I don't even know what the right word is for it, but I've seen that clip in that interview from like over a year ago now, like so many times. It's all over the place. Like, and it's no doubt, I think, led to why this Snow White hasn't really had its traditional press release. I do think that she is ultimately responsible for a lot of ill will towards this movie, regardless of all the other. Obviously, there's lots of different avenues where people could point at for this movie as to why people want to see it fail. I think another big one that's worth mentioning is I think how mismanaged the conversation around actors with dwarfism and the opportunities I feel were sort of robbed from them in this movie. I think also, as much as I love him, Peter Dinklage, I think had a hand to play in that too.
Yeah,
and I know a lot of people. He said some stuff. I did hear his argument phrased in a different perspective that kind of changed my mind a little bit about how I felt he was sort of closing the door for actors with dwarfism in this movie. But somebody did kind of mention that it was a comment that I read that said that he was more looking out for how dwarfism is like portrayed in the original animated movie and how it's used like for comedic relief, and how the dwarves are viewed very one-dimensional, and that how that can be damaging to people with dwarfism in the entertainment industry. And I totally understand that side of things. I didn't really think of it that way, but I still think that it was a missed opportunity to cast 7 actors with dwarfism in this role. And again, you can obviously change how that's done with the times.
And his
that's another reason,
like,
though.
hey, he was saying like they're trying to be progressive by having like a Latina actress play Snow White, and then like like the representation, because this all happened after a leaked photo came out, which is why they ended up pivot. That's why they pivoted and just made them like CGI instead. And but I understand like his point. I also think it's interesting too that the voice actors for the dwarves, there's only actually one little person doing a voice. The rest of them are all full grown, fully like actors. So I
Right.
think it's interesting, even doing the voice work, they only hired like one
There you
actual
go.
little person to do the
How
voice work.
progressive is that?
Yeah. Um,
So
I and then with all, there's a lot. I mean, I think it's a
there's
$200 million movie.
tons.
I'm
There's
sure
an
Disney.
episode we could make about this movie, I
Yeah,
think.
but I guess my big thing about you was like, do you think that I Gal Gadot had her Walk of Fame ceremony today? She got a star on the Walk of Fame, and there were a bunch of
Gal Gadot did? Wow.
yeah, and there were a bunch
Okay.
of pro Palestinian protesters at that event, like kind of taking away from that because obviously she's Israeli.
Yep.
She's been very vocal about all of that,
Yes.
especially in light of like recent real life world events, and she doesn't
100%.
shy away from talking about that too. Now, when you don't shy away from stuff, you're gonna have a bunch of people that have a lot to say about you, and it's a $200 million movie. I'm sure Disney's like, can we just get it out already and get it over with?
Yes.
The early word they lifted the embargo last week. The early word is that it's pretty good. I mean, it's not like they
Right.
say it's like one of the better ones, one of the better live action ones. But do you think that
Unfortunately,
like
I
this
don't
will
think it
help?
even matters at this point.
I don't. I actually don't think. I mean, I looked at my you know my AMC app to see like because usually like when movies are about to come out, you can kind of gauge even like on a Monday looking at showtimes for like Thursday or Friday, like, oh, like there's already selling out seats and stuff. This movie is not, at least when I was looking, it's not. I mean, it doesn't seem like I think it's so bogged down by like we've been hearing about the movie for so long with all this stuff without having seen it. I personally think that I'm not gonna say that it's gonna like bomb, but I don't think it's gonna do well for all of those reasons. And I think that I agree with you that I think like it could probably have some of the best reviews of the live action remakes, and I don't think it will matter. And that's why I was going to ask you, like, do you think it's just like this is a done deal? They just want to get it out there and get it over with, so they can just look to Lilo and Stitch. That basically,
Yeah, well,
can we move
exactly.
on?
Yeah. I do think that they're ready to have this. I don't know what to call it. Like, obviously, maybe quality wise, it's not a dumpster fire, but how it was
Yeah,
marketed, promoted, and all the other things about this movie, it is sort of a dumpster fire management wise. And I'm sure they're ready to get rid of and off their hands to stop having to protect and promote and train their actors to speak positively about the movie and its
yeah,
influences. Like, I'm sure this was, I would not want to have worked on this movie's promotional campaign. I'm not envious of
yeah,
anybody at Disney that had to, and it's a shame. It shouldn't have had to go that way. But yeah, I don't think they did themselves any favors by being so upfront about all the aspects of the original that they were so willing and happy to just erase over, which was something that
yeah.
initially, right off the bat, alienated not just the fact that they did, eliminate opportunities for like not making them dwarves, essentially, fundamentally rewriting some of the characters, taking away like the love interest in the prince aspect of this movie. Not
All right.
the fact that they did that for the story, but how they went about promoting that they had done it
Yeah,
instantly
yeah.
alienated longtime classic fans or just Disney fans in general, I think. So that didn't help them any. And I do think, and mark my words, that this movie, if above any other, is going to fundamentally change how Disney as a company itself, maybe not other studios yet, maybe it'll have a snowball effect, but I do think that Disney is going to look at this movie based on how it performs, and
Right.
that will influence how they have their stars promote and talk about their movies on and off the red carpet, because obviously the Gal Gadot stuff and the Twitter beef and her thoughts on the Israel and Palestine and Rachel
Yeah,
Zegler's comments about like detracting from the original all have
yeah.
had detrimental negative effects on this movie well in advance of its premiere, to the fact that they can't even really have a premiere in the traditional way, and that is very
Right.
uncommon. So I do
Yeah,
think that this
especially
is
for
going to be a
a
trend
big
setting movie in a
Disney
bad
release,
way.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for a
And
big ass like release like this, you would have like they would go all out with a big lavish premiere if all this stuff wasn't
exactly.
going
It's
on.
a celebration of the movie that really started this studio, really. Like when you
Yeah,
look at it, over 100 years ago, and it was their first animated feature. Maybe not their first, but one of their first, the one that put them on the map. And I also think that depending on its how it does at the box office, it could be something that maybe gets Disney back on track in the sense of like sort of backtracking on some of their more how did you put it earlier? I'm forgetting the word again. The like progressive stuff.
Yeah, like
Not that they're gonna just in the sense of how they have sort of how they alter some of their IP and make it more progressive. Not that I don't think they're not going to be a progressive company, but I do think that depending on how it does, if it does as poorly as like some people are speculating that it might do, like you even mentioned with the AMC pre-ticket sales,
yeah,
I think it might also launch them more in the direction of creating more original progressive stories rather than sort of
yeah,
hijacking some of their remakes and changing some of the fundamental aspects about it, because we already know how unpopular that's been on some of their other remakes. And Disney's one of those studios that needs a win right now. And this could be, I think, the straw that breaks the camel's back when it comes to their live action remakes, because some of them have done really well. That's why they still do this. But some have
yeah.
been, the subject of controversy. I think none more than Snow White. So I'm really interested to see what the fallout of this movie is. And it's been a long time coming. So it's going to
Yeah,
be a crazy development. I'm sure
yeah.
that
It'll
the
be
next news episode we have, we'll talk about it.
about how well or not well it
So,
did,
well,
and
yeah, just the
and
implications.
yeah, and honestly, I want to point out too that I don't think there's anything wrong with uh casting a Latina actress in a role like this. My argument with this has always been like, still white's not real, so like she can be Latina. I mean, like she's not based on a real person.
Exactly.
Like that, this the same thing that happened when they cast Haley Bailey as the Little Mermaid,
Yeah, we're
Ariel,
talking about a
and
fictional
yeah,
character here.
fictional
Like,
character,
it
and
doesn't
but
matter.
it bends everyone out of shape, right? But I think you can do progressive things without having to say like, "Hey, we're being progressive," and I think that's the
Exactly.
problem with like how
Exactly.
yeah, and I think that's the problem with how they from the start
It's not
did this.
authentic when you cast a spotlight on it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it looks very performative, as if like, oh, we're trying to be like ahead of the curve. Like we
Exactly.
know, like we want to be something different, and like look how like edgy we're being, and like it's like, no, just do it.
Like,
Like
that
don't
narrative has
like
not landed with
yeah
people, I don't think, when it comes to Disney's
yeah
live action remakes. And
yeah
it's taken them a while to realize that. It's not really been popular. And it just infuriates lots of people for right or wrong reasons I'm not going to be the judge of. Definitely in a lot of
yeah
cases, like ridiculous, wrong, and even racist reasons many times.
yeah
But I think this will be something that maybe encourages them to make more original works
content
and stop,
and yeah,
alienating and pissing off fans of IPs that A, don't really need to be remade because they're
right
based on beloved original movies, and ones that you're not going to, anger a lot of people by changing things. So
yeah
who
yeah
knows, but it's interesting.
yeah, I think it's interesting too that they Disney wants to be so progressive, but then like they quietly kind of they shelve their like they're doing a
Yeah,
TV series for the Princess and the Frog, which like of course that movie was the first animated movie to have a black Disney princess.
right.
So they want to be so progressive, but then they shelve that TV series that they announced being in development. So like you have like a animated TV series that would have had like a black female lead voicing it as
Hmm.
well. But then you get rid of that. But then you want to be like, but you want to prove like how progressive you are. Yeah. So it always seems like like I agree with you. Make it genuine, make it authentic, but do not in the same breath because you hire someone of you know different like if you're doing all that stuff, it's great. I support Rachel Zegler being cast in that role. It's like she's an amazing singer. She's a good actress. She proved that pretty much out the gate when she did West Side Story. Like it's not like
Hmm.
she is a bad performer at all. She's a good actress.
No,
I mean,
I think she
but
mishandled this opportunity big time though
yeah,
by how she spoke
yeah,
about the role.
and I agree with you too, man. I think moving forward, some of these contracts are just be like, just don't say shit, just
Yeah,
don't talk.
or you're going to be
Like,
responsible for it. Yeah,
yeah. Like,
100%, because they can't
like,
let this happen again.
yeah, like give it
Um,
like don't do it while we're making it. Give it a good month after the movie comes out before you say anything about anything. I think
yes,
that's going to change moving forward,
and
probably.
just really quickly before we go to trailers too, just another little stab at Disney and their progressivism. Because again, on paper, it's a great thing that they're doing and giving opportunities to more diverse performers and actors. But
Yeah.
they also are the first to turn around and edit their movies to be featured in markets where diversity is not so
Oh yeah.
celebrated, and that also comes across as very disingenuous. Their Chinese edits of their movies don't feature the things that we see over here in the West, and they are
Right.
happy to make their pennies over in different film markets where they're not touting progressivism. And so that is another, something I have to mention in there about why I have such
Yeah.
ill will towards this company, because they
Yep.
want to tout themselves as this progressive company and by making the changes that they do, but not when it comes down to their bottom line. And so it just comes
Agreed.
across as disingenuous. So again, all that to say, I think that this is going to be the movie that might open their eyes into how they do business going forward. And regardless, positive or negative, it's going to be newsworthy. And I'm excited to see how it goes, because I don't want all the creatives on this movie to have a failure on their hands, but some of it, I'm almost kind of like hoping that
like hopefully a lesson learned.
A lesson learned is kind of what I want out of this whole thing. That's a thank you for summarizing that.
Yeah, I never like, we both love movies and stuff. I never want to see movies like fail,
Of
even if
course
I don't
not.
want to see, even if I don't want to see it. I don't
Exactly.
like to see like stuff fail. That's
We're
a
all
lot of
part
people
of the industry.
Yeah, a lot of people work on these things, and to keep the industry going, like we need movies to be successful. So, if to be a fly on the wall and those officers, they're just like, oh, can we just get this out? Like, we just get this out and over with. Yeah. But 100%. I think the two trailers that we're going to talk about first might have Disney more excited. Because
yes, something to focus on. And
speaking of live action remakes, Lilo and Stitch had its first trailer come out. As we know, it's a live action adaptation of the 2002 animated movie. I would like to say I think this movie's gonna make a ton of money because it has I think it has the second most views for a live action Disney project, 158 million views in 24 hours. So that is
two of
insane.
those belong to me.
Yeah. That's true for me too. Actually, I watched it twice. And so the first one, the original, made $232 million worldwide, and that was like decent. It wasn't like Lion King money, but it was decent back in the day. This was like during a time when there's a golden age of animated Disney movies, and then they have a lull, and then they kind of get out of that, and then there's a lull. This movie came out like not as a lull movie. It was well received, but it kind of came out during a lull period where I don't think everyone was fully confident in going to see animated Disney movies because there were so many not good ones in a row. But I think over time, and with after it came out on home video and DVD and all that, Lilo and Stitch built a really significant audience in the years since it came out, and people seem excited for it. And I was surprised because it's Disney, it's live action. I didn't expect to like the trailer, but I did a lot.
Neither did I, and I gotta say, I thought it actually looked great. And I feel like before I saw it, I saw criticism for how the animation or the CGI was helmed, and I thought I saw somebody compare it to the original Sonic trailer before they switched.
But
not
that bad.
Maybe I could be imagining that. I'm not sure what I saw, but yeah, I thought it looked really great. I actually kind of feel this movie falls into a category of half live action because there's so much CGI in it, but it all looks good. I gotta say, Stitch is the best looking character in the movie. And there's some great sequences that are ripped right out of the original animated version, which is a movie that I grew up with and I love. I haven't seen it since
I love that movie too. Yeah,
young kid, but saw it 100 times. Loved Lilo and Stitch. So I gotta say, I thought the trailer was really good.
Yeah, I really liked it too, and judging from the trailer, it does seem like it retains the whole the heart of that movie is the connection between the little girl and of course the Lilo,
and Stitch,
and Stitch, yeah. So it seems like it retains that kind of heart as well, and it could have easily looked like a really messy live action CGI hybrid that they're just, of course they're making it because it's going to make money and it's a known IP, but it seems like more care went into making it not just making it just a carbon copy of the animated movie. There could be some emotional weight watching real life characters interact with a character that. I've always compared Lilo and Stitch, and it reminds me of their version of ET or something. So that's what it feels like, and
true that.
You kind of see that in the trailer, and I actually thought I was really surprised. I was expecting to be no, pass, and then as it's going, I'm does not look bad at all. I was surprised. So and I do think this is funny though. This movie comes out on May 23rd. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning comes out the same day.
Oh my goodness.
Tom Cruise saw this. He was in this position back in 2002 because the animated movie came out on the same day as Minority Report. So like
Oh wow.
so this is happening to him again. And I'm not saying like Final Reckoning is going to make money, but Lilo and Stitch is going to have a pretty massive opening weekend and probably a pretty massive run during the summer. Like, what a prime time to release that movie, as like right before like the Memorial Day like holiday, and like it's almost summer. I think it's going to be a lot bigger than people anticipate it was even going to be, and I'm at least it looks good, so I'm happy for it. So
Yeah,
all power
I
to him.
want it to do well. I think that's hilarious that it'll be competing with Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I'm like Tom Cruise, like he's probably like again, like the same, like
Yeah,
this year's
deja
apart.
vu. Yeah.
And then of course, since it's Disney and they milk their IP and their sequels and reboots, the teaser trailer for Freakier Friday came out on last Friday.
Yep.
I like Freaky Friday. It's been a long
Same.
time since I've watched it. But I just remember it being so like fun, and Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis played really well off each other. And that
Also
and
iconic for my generation. Like I grew up when that came out, and
and it
it's
was like
beloved
it's hard not to like. I think you have to have like a heart made of stone not to enjoy it a little bit.
for sure.
I mean, of course, it's been so many years since that came out, and Jamie Lee Curtis, to her credit, was manifesting this when she was promoting Everything Everywhere All at Once, when she was like about to win her Oscar. Like, she willed this sequel to happen. Like, she was like, had like it was one of those things where I don't think it was on anyone's radar to do it, and she kind of just started talking about it. And I think the more she talked about it, Disney was like, okay, let's see what we can do. And now we finally are going to get it in August. I didn't hate this trailer either. I thought I thought it did enough to kind of sell what it's going to be. And I guess what it looks like is there's like a four-way switch, I guess.
Yeah. So
which
going
is why
bigger. I was already confused though by the minute and a half teaser. I already can't keep my head wrapped around this.
I can tell who switched with who, but I know there's like a four-way switch, which is why this Friday is freakier, I guess. So like there's that. They brought back pretty much almost everyone from the original movie, and there's like new cast members as well. So it looks like they just wanted to get the gang back together and do the sequel, and it looks fun. I mean, and I also like Lindsay Lohan, to her credit, and I think it's really cool that like, because she went through a lot, as you probably know, like she definitely had an interesting 20s and younger, but she cleaned up her life without it being like a public thing. Like, I feel like out of nowhere, I was like, wow, she hasn't gotten in trouble. She cleaned her life up. She got married. She has a kid. And
that's right. She's having a career resurgence now.
Yeah, she has a huge Netflix deal. Like, I don't watch her little Christmas rom-coms, but people do. So like I'm happy for her too. Like, this is like, she has a really long-standing relationship with Disney, and I think it's cool that she gets to go back and do this sequel, and like, a big theatrical release is not going to Disney Plus, so that's good. Like, there's like a lot, but I think goodwill behind it. So I think it's hard for me not to be like, all right, I'll check it out, and good for them. Also, good for Jamie Lee Curtis for like, they always say you should manifest these things. So good for her, she did. And I agree with you. I was confused by who switched with who. I watched it twice, and I was like, I still don't know who exactly switched with who, but it's wacky. It's a four-way switch, so I'll go with it.
Definitely, and I agree. Like, I think they had to do something other than just switch Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis, and again, like, essentially just remake the first movie. And so I commend them for adding a little bit more pizzazz to it. But yeah, I think it'll be fun, and it'll get a lot of like long-time fans of the original out to go see it. So that's great. I don't know,
it's
I'm due for a rewatch.
Sure.
Yeah, it's nostalgia. But one that I think I'm more excited for than I would be like maybe some other projects of Disney's, but it's a good one, and good for both. Now Jamie Lee Curtis is an Oscar winner. She's got that behind her too. So
and it's weird to say, like, I won't say that Jamie Lee Curtis had like a career resurgence. She wasn't like, she never was not working, but the last few years of her career have been like, she's just been on a run. So like,
definitely.
So like, good for her too. And this movie comes out on August 8th, so got that to look forward to. This next trailer, this was something you're looking forward to if you want to tee it up.
Yes, you're talking about F1 there. Yes,
Yeah.
Joseph Kosinski and Brad Pitt. Been really looking forward to this. Joseph Kosinski, of course, hot off Top Gun Maverick, which was 3 years ago now, in a
Yeah,
few
that's
months, which
crazy.
is crazy. So really looking forward to F1. We finally got a feature length trailer with some dialogue in it and got a little bit more meat to the story here. And it
Yeah,
seems it looks like the plot is going in a way that I didn't, not that I had many expectations as what I thought the story would be like, but it definitely
yeah,
seems it's going to be like a team based rivalry between rookie and vet and trying to win it all on the F1 racetrack. I think it looks fantastic. Some of the shots, more so from the teaser, but we do get a few from this trailer of the cameras on the actual F1 cars are
yeah.
like I cannot
Like
wait for those sequences in
feel
the
like you
movie.
were just like makes you feel like you're in it in there.
Just like he
And
did on the cockpit of
and
the Jets,
yeah,
right?
and
Yeah.
and what we learned is that Joseph Kosinski knows how to direct stuff like this. He knows how to direct action like this. So like this trailer's been really well received when people have seen it, and they like that seem to really like think that it sells itself really well. And
Yeah.
I think it does. I was really excited by just how it looks visually. I was like it looks really exciting. Um, there's been a lot of conflicting reports about how much this movie costs to make.
Yeah, that's the bad news
Yeah,
about this is
yeah.
it's got a crazy budget apparently. But what have you heard? Because I've heard crazy numbers.
This is reportedly a $300 million movie. Now, this doesn't look like a 300. I mean, like it does. It does. Okay, I want to say it doesn't look. It looks like it, as in it doesn't look cheap, but it doesn't seem like something that needed to be $300 million. If that's true, that's a pretty hefty budget, and this is not the kind of movie that like makes that kind of money domestically on its own. So they're gonna have to rely on like Brad Pitt and his foreign appeal as well to like have it do well worldwide too to kind of
Hmm.
make up for that. Um, Jerry Bruckheimer and Kaczynski said that it didn't cost $300 million to make, but but other trades keep releasing reports like no, in fact, it does, and that's without marketing. So it looks
Yeah,
good. It looks good. I hope it does well. I heard Brad Pitt was paid $30 million for his involvement, so that was a big part of the budget
no doubt.
too.
There's a tenth right there
Um,
if it is 300 million,
but
which is
yeah, it looks
crazy.
good. It looks good. I want it to do well to encourage them to make like movies like this more, and like especially like the way like the action is just authentically shot, and like I
Hmm.
mean if that is where like the money's going to, then I guess that's fine. Like to kind of make it as authentic as it can be. Um, but yeah, it looks good. It comes out on June 25th. I will be this will be one interesting one to look at as far as like how well it's going to do, because I like it. There's a lot riding on it, and like yeah,
Yeah,
it's there's confidence because it's a June 25th. It's like it's a summer movie, so they have faith in it. But like
that's right.
if
Blockbuster's slot right there.
yeah, but yeah, will it make a return on that investment? Hopefully, but it's
Hopefully. Well, I hope it doesn't cost 300 million. I like that. Well, again, I shouldn't say this. I'll just bite my tongue here, but the fact that the two major producers are saying it actually quite isn't that high, kind of, I'm
yeah,
gonna choose to believe them, even though I wouldn't believe them if they were like Disney executives. So I don't know why I would believe
yeah,
Jerry
you like
Bruckheimer
you
any more than I would believe like Kevin Feige. But
yeah,
the other thing though that I think might save this movie is that Formula One racing has a pretty international appeal, not just like a Western market. So I
right,
do believe that European audiences will show up for this movie, South American audiences. I don't know so much about Asian audiences, but I do know that Formula One racing is popular all around the world.
yeah,
So I do bode well for that, and it's got an international cast as well. Obviously,
yeah,
Brad Pitt himself is a 30-year long,
yeah.
incredible career,
And they
global
like
movie
him in
star.
China, by the way. So even
Oh,
if
okay,
F1
good. I didn't necessarily know that.
even if F1 racing is not that big, and it could be in Chinese markets, they do love him. So there's that.
Yeah, we've also got Carrie Condon, Javier Bardem, and Simone Ashley.
Yeah,
Wait, is that Simone Ashley? I actually meant to say Damson Idris, who plays like the rookie, but Simone Ashley. I think maybe I was confusing her with somebody else for a moment. But anyway, quite international cast there too. So I'm
yeah,
hoping that will
helps.
lend this movie like for its box office toll.
Yeah, and it looks great. So I mean,
It does look fantastic, and
it sold the movie well. So I'm
it,
down. I'm really down for it.
if the production really like focuses on the fact that from the creator of Top Gun Maverick, which was another global
Yep,
success, I'm sure that will also help
yep.
this movie
Blast that
recoup some dollars. Yeah,
on every TV spot.
100%.
um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that comes out on June 25th. And I guess the final trailer came out today. As you know, Jackson and I both love Past Lives, and it ripped us up both emotionally after we watched it.
One of my favorite movies of 2023, without a doubt.
Yeah, it was very very strong film from Celine Song, and she has a follow up to that coming called Materialists with Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. Um, Looks very like still a relationship movie, but definitely looks a little lighter than
Another
Past Lives.
love triangle movie as well,
Yeah, yeah.
just like
It
Past Lives.
looks good though. And like honestly, kudos to A24. I mean, like I know the A24 is independent, but they could actually turn this into like a decent sized hit if they put like some marketing spin into it. Because like it's the kind of movie that like you could have seen being made more often years ago, like when these movies were like huge. And if they could actually sell it and make it appeal to that audience that miss watching stuff like that in theaters, I think the potential here could be big for it, and especially as counter programming too, right? Because it comes out June 13th amongst a bunch of like dude summer blockbusters. So like it can easily like be
True.
good counter programming too. And it looks solid. And like I always say this, Dakota Johnson is a good actress. She has the misfortune of being in some garbage, and that's not necessarily always her
Yes.
fault. Like for every 50 Shades of Grey, like she makes some really good stuff after that. Or and then she tries to do like more mainstream stuff like Madam Web, and not the direction she should go in. But she is really good in like these like indie kind of like dramas or like light comedies and stuff like. So I'm always reminded when I see a trailer like this, like, oh, she is good. Like it's just the project is what matters. And like
That's right.
this also is a good move for her. Also a good move for Chris Evans, who I think needs a movie that showcases like
Yes.
other things that he can do now that he's not in the MCU anymore, even though there's rumors he might be coming back.
Right. But
And
not
then
primarily. He's doing other things.
he
Yeah.
was he was also in that Dwayne Johnson Christmas movie that wasn't that good. So like so I want this for him too because he can act like I mean like when he does stuff like Knives Out, you're like, oh yeah, he can actually can do things that aren't just
Loved him in
one
The
note.
Gray Man. Like
Yeah,
Knives Out. Exactly. Great comparison there too. So I'm
yeah,
excited to see him in something not action based.
yeah. And then you got Pedro Pascal, who's been in everything right now. So like, good for him.
He has been in everything. I still haven't like been worn out by him, but I am worried
Yep,
that like there is too much of a good thing, and he just keeps coming up in these a lot of great projects, a lot of big high profile ones, and even little tiny independent ones like this. So I mean, I
yeah,
love him, but I don't want too much of anybody either. I don't know. He has probably the best agent in Hollywood,
yeah,
getting him such amazing projects.
yeah.
But I do
And
love him, and he's going to be in Game of Thrones here in a couple seasons soon. I can't wait for his role in that show again. He's so good in it.
and I also think too, like a good move for all of them to kind of be in Celine Song's
Mm,
like film after Past Lives because that movie was really well received. Also released by A24, so they love working
mhm.
with her, obviously. Um, And and I made the comment about the movie feeling very different from Past Lives. Of course, don't every writer can write different types of films. I was just like surprised about because I didn't know much about it until like I saw this trailer and I was like, oh, this looks
Mhm.
very much like a light kind of fun thing. It looks funny. There's like some funny stuff in it too as well. But I think at the heart of it, it will be like a relationship film and she could probably write these kind of movies like way more with more depth than like most people could write a typical rom com. So
Oh
that
yeah.
is what I'm kind of looking forward to. I really enjoyed the trailer and thought it looked really good, and uh, I can't wait to see it. I don't know what you thought of like the trailer as a whole. Like, did it sell the movie for you?
I mean, well, actually, I didn't need the trailer to sell me. It was Celine's song is where that's what that got me. And like I said, I really, really loved her effort from 2023. Her debut was fantastic. One of my favorite movies. I already like, it's one of those movies where I don't want to rewatch it right away, but I know I
Right.
will eventually. It's just like one of those ones. So as soon as we caught wind that she had something else in development, I was already there for it. And the trailer just solidified how great I think it's going to be. And I love how never until you said it did I ever really think of it as a rom com, even though that's ultimately sort of what it is, but just not like in
Right.
your like 2000s or 2010s sort of way. It feels like very much a contemporary
Yeah.
rom com, and in a way that her sentiments are really flourishing in her writing. I think she's really great at relationship drama, and just human conflict, and I can't wait to see how that comes out. And again, like you mentioned, the cast, just to piggyback off that,
Yeah.
really excited for everyone that's involved in that. And there's a lot of other names I don't recognize in the cast list, but it looks pretty deep. And
Yep.
she's the sole writer and director on it, and I have complete faith in her, and I can't wait. So June is already slated to be
Looking
a
good.
crazy month at the movies. So,
Yeah.
and that's my birth month, so I'll be busy that month at the movies.
Yeah. And also, I'm very curious as to what goes on in her house because she's married to the guy who wrote Challengers.
Oh
which is
yeah, that's right.
which is also
It's a
which
good,
also has like a
yeah, another
three-way
crazy love
relationship
triangle
movie.
movie.
I was
Yeah,
like, so I was like, how much of this is based on any part of your real life or whatever? It's just interesting that they both kind of wrote these like significant like relationship movies
are they
dealing with
okay?
like yeah, but yeah, it looks good
Yeah,
for sure. And that's it for us, guys. I was like,
yeah.
everything was a
Holy
really
smokes, we got through a lot.
packed, packed news show,
We were
but like, it
overdue
was
for
good because we
news,
hadn't
though.
talked about news in a while. But yeah, that was it. And yeah, do you want to wrap us on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go, just want to let you guys know, and congratulations, Gaius. Your listener's pick option was chosen this month for our anniversary. We're doing TMNT from 1990, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
So congrats over that. I haven't seen, I don't know if I've ever even seen that one, so that might be a first time watch, but very excited to get to that later in the month. So just wanted you guys to be aware. I did post a story as well, that one over the Hunt for Red October. So sorry for you guys that wanted to see that. I haven't seen that one either. So
movie got a surprising amount of votes though. I was surprised that like there's room maybe to back pocket the Hunt for Red October somehow later because I thought it was
I mean,
gonna
I'm
be like
super interested in seeing it.
there's certain things where I think they're going to be a landslide, and I was like, okay, everyone's going to pick Ninja Turtles. But then I was like looking, I was like, well, a decent amount of people picked.
I think it ended up being like 75 to 25 in favor of
Like,
you, though. So yeah,
this will be an interesting one too because this is very much a movie I grew up with as a kid, and you definitely did
yes,
not.
and I can't.
You weren't born.
That's right.
You weren't born yet.
I grew up with the animated series, and I loved it. And there's video games that I was playing when I was a kid, so I'm very much in tune with the series. But this movie itself will be new for me. But I can't wait because I do love that IP so much, and I can't wait to cover that anniversary. So just had to shout that out real quick before we wrap it up. But thank you guys for tuning into another episode. That was episode 230 of Back to the Blockbuster. Really pumped to get some news out to you guys. We'll try to have not so much of a gap in between news next time, but we do have some anniversaries coming at you later for the month of March that we're excited to get out. And stay tuned for Final Destination, which is also coming out, where we are collabing again with the Return, Revenge, Resurrection podcast for that episode. I'm not sure at this point if I'm going to be on that one, but in any case, give that one a listen once it's out. We'll be promoting it. And still lots more to come to on the show. So stay tuned to our socials at Back to the Blockbuster for all your updates, and feel free to reach out to us anytime you guys want for any updates, for anything you'd like to see on the show. We are happy to get your guys' feedback. And of course, for all of you guys listening, wherever you guys listen, make sure you give us some love on playlists. You guys can find us on their app, whatever device you guys listen to, you can find them on your app store. Got to give some love to them. They are our podcast network, and they take great care of us over here on the show. They help bring this to life, whether you're listening, whether you're watching. It's all thanks to them. So again, guys, got to give some love to playlists. And thank you guys again for listening. 229 other great episodes of the show for you guys to go back and listen to, and lots more to come in the future. So thanks again for tuning in to another week, guys. Gaius, always a pleasure chatting news with you, buddy. And I will see you soon.
Of course, you always do that so well, man.
Appreciate it. Now my mouth's dry.
You're like, and I got it all out.
Exactly. Time for a drink of water.
Yeah. All right. Until next
Thanks,
time,
buddy.
guys.
Good to see you, man.